Hello everybody, this is 8-Bit Flashback, and I just got a couple Raspberry Pi 3 cases made by Retroflag called the Super Pi case. And these cases are available in two different models. We got the Super Nintendo and the Super Famicom. And these might be the best Pi case out there. So here's a look at what you get inside the box. Of course, you get the case itself. You also get a fan, some heat sinks, some screws to assemble the case, a decent screwdriver, some instructions, and a controller. And these controllers actually seem to be pretty decent quality, and you can use these for other devices like your Nintendo Switch or a PC. And the colors on these controllers look great, and they look very similar to the original controllers. As far as the performance goes for these controllers, I'll cover that in a future video. And here's an up-close look on the cases, and the colors on both of these look great. We do have a couple emblems on there. Some people might have a problem with that, but it doesn't bother me. I know it's not the real thing, but it does look a lot like the real thing. On the side, there's an access cover where you can access two of the USB ports and your Ethernet port, and it's the same thing for both models. Then located on the back is where the rest of your connection ports are going to be. And as far as the size difference between the two, the Super Famicom is just a little bit smaller than the Super Nintendo. But if we compare that to the official Super Nintendo Classic Edition, the dimensions are pretty much identical and it looks very, very similar. And I would say even the construction of the case is very similar. The thickness of the plastic seems to be very close to what the official Super Nintendo Classic Edition is. When you're looking at it from a top view, pretty much the only way to tell the difference is the emblems. When you're viewing the cases from the back, you can see some noticeable differences because those ports are going to be in different locations. But this is something that can't really be helped because the layout on the Pi 3 ports is going to be different than what the Super Nintendo is. This Super Nintendo case has a functional power button and a reset switch, and that power button can be programmed to be a soft shutdown, meaning it won't just kill the power, it'll actually start a shutdown script and then shut your Pi off. But in order to make that soft shutdown work, you will have to install some software to make that functional, and I'll explain that more here in a bit. And the same exact thing for this case, all those buttons are functional. Even the eject button is functional. When you push the eject button, it flips open the lids, and that gives you access to storage for SD cards. So that's a really cool feature to make that eject button actually functional and do something. When you push those buttons, it flips them right up, and you could easily fit a couple micro SD cards in here, no problem, and I think that's a really cool feature. And if you're looking to get one of these, you can find these on Amazon.com, and I'll make sure to post a link down below. And they may or may not be sold out. When I checked earlier, one of the cases was still available, but they've been selling out pretty fast. And here's a look inside the Super Nintendo case. Here's the spot where the fan would mount. This is going to be the plug-in that's going to plug right into your Pi 3 board. And here's two USB plugs, and these will also plug directly into that Pi 3 board. And I should mention, both of these cases are compatible with the Pi 3B, the B+, and the 2B. And here's a look inside the Famicom case, and it pretty much has all the same stuff with a slightly different layout on the PCB board. But all the plugs on this case plug into the Pi 3 the same exact way. So the first step when you're putting the case together is going to be to install that fan, and that fan's going to clip right in place, and then you're going to plug it into the PCB board on the Super Nintendo located right here. And it will be marked positive and negative, so the red's going to be on the positive side, and the black will be negative. And to help secure that fan and keep it from vibrating, there is 4 screws you're going to mount in each corner. Now it's time to insert your Pi 3 board, and that's going to insert with the HDMI facing the rear of the case. And it should line up pretty easy, but before we secure it to the case, we want to go ahead and tilt it just a little bit so we can plug in our USB cables. And those are going to plug into the USB ports that are located closest to the front of the case. Now it's time to secure that Pi 3 board to the case, and there's going to be 4 screw holes located right here. You also have the option to install the heat sinks on top of the microchips if you choose to, or you can use your own or none at all. The choice is up to you, but these will help keep it just a little bit cooler. And here's a look at that main connection, and that's going to plug in all the way to the right with that red wire farthest to the right. And here's an up close look at that plug, and notice that red wire is all the way to the right. So you just want to pay attention to make sure it's plugged in correctly before you power this on. In order to make that soft shutdown work, there is an on-off switch that's located right here, and that will need to be in the on position. But you will also have to install some software that's going to include a shutdown script to make this soft shutdown function correctly. For the Famicom case, that layout's slightly different. Your soft shutdown switch is going to be located right here, and then your fan plug-in is going to be located right here. And here's a look at the command you're going to have to use to download the necessary software for that soft shutdown, and you're going to enter this command inside the RetroPie terminal once you have RetroPie set up. and I will cover all this more in a future video. So before we install the top lid of the case, we want to make sure that on-off button is in the off position, and also make sure your switch on the top of the case is also in the off position. That way it lines up correctly and you don't have to worry about damaging that switch. Now it's time to secure that case together with 4 screws, and after those are installed we can put our rubber feet right inside those holes. So putting that case together is pretty easy, there's not much to it, and it's the same routine for each case. So I'm not going to cover any gameplay in this video, but I will be making more videos about both of these cases, showing off some more stuff, and testing out those controllers to see how well they actually work. So from what I know about both of these cases so far, I'm pretty impressed, and I only really have one minor complaint. And that would be these access doors right here. I found that they come off fairly easy, but sometimes when I go to put them back on, it can be kind of a pain. But that's really a pretty minor thing, and overall, I'm very happy with the cases so far. So there's a mod I might be doing in the future for both of these consoles, and that would be a cartridge mod. And because that eject button is functional and that cartridge slot opens, that's going to make the mod that much easier. And what my plan is I could use a mini cartridge, put a flash drive inside of it, and then make a USB input inside that cartridge slot and make it a functional cartridge. But that's a maybe, I may or may not do that. Alright everyone, thanks for watching. If you liked that video, click that like button. If you want to hear more from me, please subscribe. Have yourself a great day, and I'll see you next time.